Namaste and welcome back. I'm Dr. Naresh Bana
Namaste, I'm Deepika Upadhyay.
and we are here with yet another episode on Rural Incubation Centers. Yes, that's what we discussed in our last episode. We discussed the need and necessity of the same, and today, to take the discussion forward, I have my colleague Ms. Deepika with me. Over to her.
Greetings and thank you so much. It was highly informative in our last episode related to whatever Dr. Bana had shared. Lot many queries from the Gram Pradhans that we received, and there are few questions based on what were their queries. I'm going to ask Dr. Bana. Dr. Bana, how do you see the incubator system unfolding in India?
Incubation system or the incubation centers are, as we discussed, critical to the development of rural landscape, and that has to be first agreed and acknowledged as such by the state governments. Once that is done, necessary legal, statutory and policy framework has to be put in place so that the rollout could happen at district level and the right selection of PPP promoters can take place simultaneously at district level, and all the necessary policy and legal framework could also be in place.
Oh, very true. There are development systems that exist in our government at state level. How and what do you feel which model would be appropriate to run these centers?
See, currently we have the development mechanism headed by Chief Development Officer in each district. Below that, the next level is block development officers, and they subsequently take care of the development in panchayats and villages. This is one system which can also have add-ons of rural incubation systems, rural incubation centers at panchayat or village level, but they are a bureaucratic setup which has its own limitations. Their capacities are limited and motivation is very limited. So, in my view, it may be more appropriate to involve people who are from the same area, means they are stakeholders for development of their area. They are having sufficient financial capacity and business acumen, and the entire thing of setting up of rural incubation centers be done through a public-private partnership model, which is well matured in our country, and many of the infrastructure projects, big or small, have been delivered through PPP. It is not a new name. Only thing is, it has to be modified to this social sector, and accordingly, it has to be planned.
Dr. Bana, you had just now referred for a modified system. First of all, I would like to know why would anybody be interested in investing in this model, number one, and what are the aspects that will be covered in this model which you feel is not sufficient enough by our government?
Let me answer your first question. This is appearing to be a dead proposition which possibly does not have any return on investment. In fact, it is not only return on investment. There are two types of returns which are visible in this. One is return on invested money. The second is return on invested effort or reputation. So when we appreciate that, then you would see that with the support of the state, because here it's a monopolistic requirement or the challenge which can only be taken up with the state support, and with the support from the government, the private entrepreneur can bring on the table their business acumen, their financing capacity, and their risk taking capability and managerial capability. And with that, matching up with the state support, it could do wonders.
I understand that, like the way you have shared that whatever support system will be taken by the government. I just want to know what are the delivery mechanism through PP model will be at that level, at panchayat level, and what are the delivery mechanism done by the government which is not accepted or adopted by the villagers.
Okay, uh, let me give you a view as to how actually it may work out. You see, today, if there is a entrepreneur or a budding businessman in rural areas, they have limited access to the capital. They are very limited capacity in writing their project plans, working out the financial model, taking leverage from the bank and the government policies, and then earning a good return on their investment. For example, if they have, say, about 10 lakh rupees and they invest into any small or micro or nano kind of work, the earnings could be 20 to 30% in the kind of landscape we see. Whereas if they were able to take the financial support from a bank or a financial institution, and with the same 10 lakh as their equity, they could have taken the debt of about 30-40 lakhs. Their business value would have been 50 lakhs, and their earnings would have been same 20 to 30% if we take much more, 4 to 5 times. So point I'm making is that these rural incubation centers can effectively mentor the budding entrepreneurs and business people into multiplying their earnings manifold, and also earn return for the PPP promoters. All this is possible if government comes on table with the viability gap funding, because ab initio these projects appear not viable.
Very rightly said. But don't you think there's going to be a big challenge in getting the stakeholders and PPP promoters at the same stage, at the same level? There has to be some friction or conflict between them. How will you manage that?
Any enterprise is fraught with risks, and having disputes is but natural. In this case, one of the option could be having a regulation or a regulatory mechanism set up at district level, whereas the PPP promoters and the state, that is the public authority, can resolve their dispute within the existing legal framework and continue delivering the services in a best possible manner.
So we have the stakeholders, we have the PPP promoters, and we have the system running. So, my question with you will be, how long will you think the incubation support system will continue?
See, the incubation, before I come to the support duration, let me also go a little further that the incubation is comprising of many things which are needed right from the day one. The mentor, which would be deployed by the PPP based incubation center, would first identify the motivated people who would take up the business. They would help them in writing their business plan. They would help them or encourage or guide them to take the financial leverage support. They would help them in marketing, sourcing, I mean, whatever it takes to run the business. Then there would be, each incubation center would have the secretarial support in terms of chartered accountants, company secretary, legal support, so that all the compliances, all the requirement to run a business are met, and the business person, the startup owner, is exposed to the best possible business practices, and then they move forward. The incubation center owning PPP promoters would have an equity in each such business. That will be their primary revenue model. But that would take, there is a lag time. That's where the government support in terms of viability gap funding comes in. And this, depending on the business model, depending on the financial accruals which are planned out, they may be different for each project. The duration of association would be set up at the time of signing first agreement with the business owner or the mentee who would come to take the support of the incubation center. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir, you have answered the question. With this, we come to the end of this episode.
We'll come back with more on the incubation centers in our next episode. Till then, keep viewing. Namaste, and
Namaste.
have a nice day.